On the first day with my CEO husband, I told him. I don't mind you having affairs outside, but don't bring the mess home, or I'll leave you for good. He kept his promise too. Even when he took a liking to the new secretary, he only kept her as a hidden mistress, never allowing her to appear before me. But she wouldn't behave. On our 5th wedding anniversary, she sent over a cake via delivery. Opening the box, I was shocked to see an intimate photo of my husband and her printed on the cake. Taking a deep breath, I closed the lid. I knew my 5-year marriage with my husband had come to an end. After throwing the cake into the trash, I sat numbly staring at the brightly lit cityscape outside the window. The wedding photo on the nightstand showed us gazing at each other with profound love in our eyes. Harrison had held me close, whispering vows to love and protect me forever in my ear. But I never imagined that promise would expire after only 5 years. With trembling hands, I opened the laptop and for the first time clicked into his still logged-in social media account. Harrison, I miss you. Are you coming to see me tonight? Countless intimate messages with explicit content appeared in the chat window labeled Cora. The earliest historical messages were from a year ago, each one making my eyes burn as I read them. I slammed the laptop shut. So for an entire year, they had been keeping me in the dark like a fool. Just then, my phone suddenly pinged with a verification alert. I tapped to confirm, and the other party immediately sent several messages. Hello Gianna, I heard today is your 5-year wedding anniversary with Harrison. What a coincidence, it's also our 1-year anniversary of knowing each other. I heard you received a big cake. That's so nice, unlike me, I only got a small booklet. Then, she sent a selfie over. A pretty-faced girl held a property ownership certificate in her hand, with the name Cora clearly written on it. Suppressing my disgust, I zoomed in on the picture and was shocked to discover that the house Harrison bought for her was actually in the same neighborhood as mine. It really goes to show that the most dangerous place is the safest. I sneered and closed the picture without responding. Hidden away by Harrison for a year, she must have wanted to flaunt her victory in front of me, but I simply refused to give her the satisfaction. I scrolled through the girl's post and saw their first encounter. The photo was taken in the hospital, where she lay on the sickbed while Harrison painted an oil portrait of her. Her infatuation was unmistakable. Oil painting sketches are Harrison's specialty. Whenever I get angry, he always uses this trick to cheer me up. Now our home has no fewer than 100 portraits of me, big and small. My gaze fell downward, and I saw the date of this social media post. It was exactly the day of my first IVF procedure. When Harrison came to see me, he mentioned that on his way to the hospital, he accidentally hit a young girl. He ended up taking care of her at the hospital for half a month. After the first IVF failure, I even offered to accompany him to visit Cora, but his excuse was that my body still needed recovery and he didn't want me to worry too much. What I didn't expect was that he simply didn't want me to discover he was with another woman. By the time Harrison came home, I had already calmed down and was sitting on the sofa watching him peacefully. Gianna, you scared me. He rarely showed such a pleading expression as he presented the gift to me like a treasure. This is the gift I specially picked out for you, the necklace you've been talking about for ages. He leaned in close, his body reeking of a woman's cloying perfume. Frowning, I looked at the necklace in his hand, the very one I'd had in my online cart for ages but never bought. He always did this, noting down every little thing I liked and surprising me when I least expected it. But perhaps that was precisely why I had been fooled by this deceit all along. That piece of cake was clearly a gift he had given to Cora, yet she treated it like a declaration of war and directly mailed it to me. He was with Cora today. I refused to believe he didn't notice the cake had gone missing. All of this could only mean one thing, even after knowing that woman had deliberately exposed their affair, he still chose to protect her, indulging her mischief. And this kind of pampering had once belonged to me alone. Harrison, don't you have anything to say to me? His expression froze. After a few seconds of silence and several sighs, he leaned back against the sofa. I've always wanted a child, but you have health issues. After all these years, we still couldn't conceive. But you clearly said back then that you didn't care about any of this. I accused him, my voice trembling with tears. I did say those words, but back then I thought with enough effort we could have a child. We've tried IVF multiple times, yet there's never been any good news. Cora, she was willing to carry a child for me. Harrison avoided my gaze, his voice low. Gianna, don't act childish. You have nothing left besides me now. As for Cora, she's just a recent graduate, still a young girl. Don't go causing trouble for her, her life is just beginning. I'm the one who did wrong in this matter. You can deal with me however you want. All this time, I endured the trials of IVF, countless injections, mountains of medication, only to be met with this outcome. I stared at him in disbelief, unable to fathom how the man who once swore I was all he needed in this lifetime could now show such blatant favoritism toward another woman. Just as Harrison said, I truly possessed nothing now. On her deathbed, my grandmother, who had raised me, an orphan, entrusted me to Harrison's care, making him promise to look after me for the rest of my life. Yet he failed to keep that promise. Losing him meant losing everything. Fortunately, I wasn't lacking the courage to start over. A sudden stabbing pain in my stomach sent sweat beating down my forehead. This old ailment dated back to those struggling years when Harrison and I were building our fortunes from nothing. Back then, his heart ached for me, and when treatment failed, he insisted on cooking for me every day until the pain gradually subsided. Seeing me suddenly relapse into my old ailment, he drove me to the hospital with deep concern. I stayed in the hospital that night. Watching the man bustling around my bedside, I felt for a moment as if we had gone back to the past. But in the dead of night, he answered Cora's call again. The girl's sickly sweet voice echoed seductively from the end of the hallway. Harrison, come see me, I prepared a surprise for you tonight. You're going to love it. Harrison hesitated for a moment. I clearly saw him glance back at me, pause for a few seconds, and ultimately choose to turn and leave. The moment I saw him leave, I felt an intense pain in my stomach and struggled to press the call button. The doctor rushed in to examine me. Ma'am, you've just become pregnant. You must avoid extreme emotional stress. I'm pregnant? I took the report from the doctor, staring in disbelief at the words on the page. So all those needle pricks weren't in vain, I was actually pregnant with Harrison's child. Unfortunately, no one was looking forward to its arrival anymore. Clutching the report tightly, I caressed this uncelebrated little life with reluctant tenderness, tilting my head back to force the tears to stay in my eyes. Doctor, it's come at the wrong time. Please schedule the procedure for me. After the medical abortion, I dragged my exhausted body back to the hospital bed and fell asleep. When I woke up, Harrison was already standing by my bedside. He lay slumped on the hospital bed, his face weary. As if he had truly kept vigil over me all night. Unfortunately, I caught sight of the red kiss mark on his neck. I forced myself to stare at that glaring red mark until my heart turned to ashes. I tried to get up quietly, but the movement startled him awake. Gianna, you're awake? His eyes snapped open, looking at me with a hint of delight. How are you feeling? Does your stomach still hurt? I turned my face away to avoid his gaze. Much better now. That's great, you must be hungry. I prepared breakfast for you, have some to tide you over. Oh, it's gotten a bit cold from sitting too long. Don't worry, let me heat it up for you first. He picked up the lunchbox nearby, its pink cartoon design glaringly eye-catching. I frowned, wanting to say it wasn't necessary, but he was already getting ready to leave. Before going, as he always used to, he ruffled my hair and told me to wait for him a moment. Watching his retreating figure, I pulled out the 4. My eyes landed on that pink lid again, and a wave of bitter nausea surged in my chest. Seizing his absence, I went ahead and checked myself out of the hospital. On my way home, Harrison called. Gianna, why did you leave? Where are you now? I went home. Went home? His voice instantly grew agitated on the other end of the line. How could you just leave without saying a word? With your poor health, what's with this tantrum? Hearing his feigned concern, I curled my lips into a smile. Let's just say I'm throwing a tantrum then. After hanging up, I told the driver to turn around and head to the law firm, where I swiftly drafted the divorce agreement and had it printed out. Gianna, should we print out this abortion surgery report as well? If your husband refuses to settle the divorce amicably, this could serve as evidence of broken marital ties later on. Fine, I nodded, though another idea had already taken root in my mind. He chose another woman for the sake of a child. Suddenly, I was curious, what expression would he wear if he knew I'd voluntarily given up our own? When I returned home in the afternoon and was packing my luggage, I suddenly heard the doorbell ring. Opening the door, I found it was Cora. She raised an eyebrow at me, a provocative smile playing at the corner of her lips. Gianna, Harrison told me you were sick, so I came specifically to check on you. You're not welcome here. I didn't even want to look at her and raised my hand to close the door. But she immediately blocked the doorframe. Not welcome? How could that be, Gianna? You probably don't know, but I've been here several times already. I've even laid in your bed more than once. She smiled coyly at me, but now, Harrison has bought me another apartment next door, so I don't come here often anymore. I saw the smugness in her eyes and let out a cold laugh. In the past, hearing such words might have devastated me, but now, my heart felt nothing. Everything she did in front of me only made her look like a clown. You know what? I'm pregnant with his child. She suddenly lifted her head, proudly stroking her belly. She was already pregnant with Harrison's child? I froze for a moment, then let out a bitter laugh. Why was I even surprised? Wasn't this bound to happen sooner or later? In Harrison's heart, I, who couldn't get pregnant, had long been a useless burden. That's why he went for Cora, younger and more fertile. But he forgot that all these years, I had undergone 3 rounds of IVF just to conceive, nearly ruining my body in the process. When I finally managed to get pregnant, only 2. I lowered my gaze to the child in her belly and covered my own stomach with my hand. Cora noticed my sorrow. You know, last night I even felt him kick. Such a healthy, lively little baby, she said. I heard from Harrison that you can't get pregnant. How pathetic. A woman who can't conceive is practically worthless. Only truly unwanted women would shamelessly steal another's man, I countered with a smirk. You. Cora's face twisted in rage as she raised her hand to strike, but a familiar male voice suddenly rang out behind her. Cora, what are you doing here? Harrison quickly stepped to my side, narrowing his eyes at her. Didn't I explicitly forbid you from coming here? I just wanted to see Gianna, Cora said timidly, her expression pitiful. Harrison's tense expression softened slightly. No need for you to come see me, go back. But now my pregnancy is progressing, and I've heard Gianna has a lot of knowledge about it, so I wanted to come ask her advice. When he heard the word pregnancy, Harrison's expression softened completely. Just then, Cora suddenly grabbed my wrist, her expression pitiful and aggrieved. Gianna, for the sake of this child, won't you please help me? Disgust overwhelmed me as I tried to pull my hand away, but at that moment, she deliberately leaned toward me and then abruptly fell backward. A blood-curdling scream followed. Ah! Gianna! Why would you push me? Harrison immediately rushed to her side. After anxiously checking Cora's condition and seeing there was no bleeding, he calmed slightly before turning to glare at me furiously. Gianna! How could you? Harrison stood up and slapped me hard across the face. How did you become so vicious? Just because you can't conceive, you go out of your way to torment Cora. If anything happens to my child, I'll make you pay for it. I covered my face, suddenly realizing the man before me was a complete stranger. Harrison picked up Cora and carefully placed her in the back seat, then sped away without a backward glance. I was left standing there, discarded like a bag of trash. While packing my things to leave, I noticed traces of Cora all over the house. Curved strands of hair on the pillows, a white nightgown under the bed. It seems this woman really went to great lengths to declare war on me. Fortunately, I'm past feeling hurt about it now. Before leaving, I threw our intimate photos into the trash and placed the divorce papers and the abortion procedure form on the bedside table. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Harrison had just helped Cora into the ward when he saw his furious mother and sister, Jasmine, storming in. The moment they spotted Cora, they lunged at her without hesitation, raising their hands to strike. Harrison was stunned and quickly intervened. "Mom. What are you doing?" Harrison's mother continued her movements without pause. "Get out of my way right now. Don't you know, this lowlife is the mistress who seduced your brother-in-law." "What?" Harrison stared at his mother in shock. When he regained his senses, he immediately shielded Cora behind him. Cora, her face deathly pale, cowered and trembled behind him. "Mom, that's impossible. Cora is such an innocent and kind-hearted girl, how could she possibly seduce my brother-in-law? Besides, she's carrying my child." Harrison's mother and Jasmine exclaimed in unison upon hearing this. "Harrison, how could you have a child with this wretched woman?" Harrison's mother was so furious she pounded her chest in anguish. "What a disgrace to our family. This despicable woman is ruining our household." Jasmine angrily pulled out her phone and thrust it in Harrison's face. "I don't care what's going on between you two. Open your eyes wide and look. Isn't this her having dinner with my husband?" Harrison glanced over, his face flashing with momentary surprise before quickly saying, "This must be a coincidence. Maybe they just happen to know each other and are having a meal together?" "You must be out of your mind." Jasmine fumed, yanking Harrison's arm away. "I won't waste words with you, move aside now. How dare she seduce my man? I'll skin her alive." She stretched out her arm, putting all her strength into slapping Cora across the face. "Stop hitting her." Harrison struggled to control the situation, but Jasmine and his mother seemed to have gone mad. Within seconds, even his own face bore several scratch marks. He winced in pain and dodged to the side, giving Jasmine the opening she needed to grab Cora's hair. Smack. She slapped Cora across the face, then mustered all her strength to kick Cora in the stomach. "Ah!" Cora screamed again, but this time it was unbearably real. A large amount of blood began gushing from her lower abdomen. The mix of curses and shouts quickly drew the attention of people in the hospital. Seeing Cora beaten until she was bleeding from her lower body, they immediately called the police. Officers soon arrived and arrested them. At this time, as Harrison's still unofficially divorced family member, I naturally received a call from the police. "Hello, Gianna. Your husband is involved in a case of intentional assault. Could you come to the police station? Sorry, I'm about to divorce him." After hearing the whole story, a cold, mocking laugh rose from the depths of my heart. "Harrison, who would have thought you'd end up like this? How does betrayal feel, I told the police officer about my ordeal, and he sighed with deep sympathy. "How did such a nice girl like you end up married into that crazy family? Beating the other woman until she miscarried, that counts as deliberate harm. You should hurry and cut all ties with him for good." I nodded with a smile, hung up the phone, and immediately called my best friend. "Sissy, is our planned round-the-world trip still on?" That evening, Harrison finally managed to deal with Cora's threat to sue his mother and sister. Exhausted and overwhelmed, he dragged himself home. Seeing the suddenly empty villa, a bad premonition immediately welled up in my heart. "Gianna. Where are you?" He searched anxiously through the house and spotted the conspicuous words on the mirror. Right after that, he noticed 2 documents on the bedside table. Dragging my suitcase, I arrived at the airport and received a few messages on my phone. "Gianna, my love. I've already planned our travel itinerary. Just waiting for you to join me. Smart women shine on their own." Reading Sissy's message, I couldn't help but smile. Starting today, I'm taking giant strides toward a new life. As soon as I got off the plane, my phone showed dozens of missed calls. Perhaps realizing the calls weren't going through, Harrison eventually switched to sending me dozens of messages. "Gianna. How dare you abort our baby? Why? I'll never agree to divorce you. Come back right now. Gianna, I was wrong about this. I beg you to stop being angry, come back to me quickly, and I'll make it up to you properly. I watched as the tone of his messages shifted from utterly domineering to pleading compromise, yet my heart remained undisturbed. Whatever this man says now holds no power over me anymore. Gianna, sweetheart. Over here. Not far away, Sissy waved at me excitedly. Smiling, I walked toward her. Even though several years had passed without meeting, we remained as close and familiar as the day we last parted. Hee hee. You're finally divorced. She giggled as she took the suitcase and hooked her arm through mine. Back when you first got together with that scumbag, I told you he was no good. See how accurate my judgment is. I told you not to be sad, the world is full of men. Sure, Harrison might be decent looking, but his character is so awful. Leaving him is the start of your wonderful new life. She chattered on, and I watched her with a heart full of smiles, feeling as though we had returned to the old days. Harrison, you were wrong about one thing. Leaving you didn't leave me with nothing. At the very least, I still have genuine friendship. We walked hand in hand through the airport when suddenly, Harrison's familiar voice came from behind. Gianna, don't go. He rushed over in a hurry, sweat dampening the hair at his temples, completely devoid of his usual composure. What the hell are you doing here, you damned scoundrel? The moment he appeared, Sissy immediately went into defensive mode, stepping forward to shield me behind her. Why aren't you keeping your little mistress company? How dare you show your face here? Haven't you hurt Gianna enough? When her grandmother entrusted her to you, is this how you kept your promise? Her barrage of questions left Harrison speechless. His expression shifted several times before he finally looked past Sissy at me, his voice hoarse. Gianna, this is all my fault. Please forgive me, okay? I've had someone investigate, Cora is a professional homewrecker. The child she's carrying isn't even mine. I was deceived by her. He lowered his gaze, his tone filled with remorse. I swear nothing like this will ever happen again. Just forgive me this once and come home with me, please? And what if the child had been yours? I asked coldly, staring straight into his eyes. What? Harrison froze in place, momentarily unable to process the words. I said, if Cora were carrying your child, would you still have come here? Harrison, you still don't understand why I divorced you. Cora was merely the catalyst. What I loathe most is that you betrayed your own vows. I raised my head sharply. You clearly promised to cherish and protect me all our lives. You clearly said you didn't care whether I could bear children. Yet later, you silently allowed me to endure the agony of IVF treatments. Even in the end, you fell for another woman because I couldn't conceive. Harrison, when you were overjoyed about her pregnancy, did you ever think about how much suffering I endured for IVF? Harrison instinctively took a step back, his face deathly pale. Gianna, I stared at him, advancing step by step. Do you know why I aborted that hard-won pregnancy? Because I stopped believing in you. Your vows were always spoken lightly, vanishing like fine sand scattered by the wind. I turned away resolutely, refusing to waste another ounce of energy on this man. Harrison tried to chase after me, but Sissy slapped him hard, stopping him in his tracks. Get lost, you scumbag. Seeing he still wouldn't give up, Sissy followed up with a fierce kick to his knee, sending him sprawling to the ground. How dare you upset my precious best friend like this? I wouldn't regret beating you to death. Harrison endured her blows with gritted teeth, his pleading gaze fixed on me from afar. How dare you look? Sissy raised her fist to strike again, but I quickly pulled her away. All right, don't waste your energy on him. Come on, let's go on a trip. Fine. Sissy rubbed her wrist, shot Harrison a glare, then turned to drag the suitcase and leave with me. Gianna. Harrison struggled to his feet, limping on his injured leg as he tried to chase after us, only to watch helplessly as I walked further and further away. The days of traveling were always so delightful. I canceled my phone number and blocked all of Harrison's contact methods. Completely free from disgusting people and unpleasant affairs, Sissy and I strolled leisurely through foreign streets. We wandered past the Palace of Nations, climbed the Jungfrau, and finally watched the sunrise atop the Matterhorn. As the first rays of sunlight touched my face, I felt immensely grateful for rescuing myself from that failed marriage. But when I returned to the hotel at the foot of the mountain in the afternoon, several blinding flashes of light suddenly flickered before my eyes. I shielded my eyes from the blinding light, barely able to see through my fingers the faces standing before me, cameras in hand. "Who are you? Why are you taking pictures of us?" Sissy stepped forward angrily, pointing at them. One girl ignored her question, striding closer, her eyes gleaming with greed as they locked onto mine. "Are you Gianna, Harrison's wife?" "What?" I froze for a moment, and a terrible premonition struck me. This must have something to do with Harrison. "Why are you asking this?" "Whether I am or not, what's it to you?" "This morning, Harrison posted a bounty, saying anyone who gives him information about his wife can get a sum of money. If you can pinpoint her exact location, you'll get an even bigger reward." She stared at me intently, as if she'd spotted a juicy piece of meat. "I'm not Harrison's wife, and I don't know any Harrison you're talking about. Please step aside." Gritting my teeth in anger, I grabbed Sissy's hand and quickly walked out of the crowd. No matter how much I'd calculated and guarded against it, I never expected that disgusting man would actually use massive monetary rewards to hunt me down. "I'm sorry, Sissy. We might have to leave this place earlier than planned." Seeing that our location had been compromised, I had no choice but to plan our departure from this country. Our wonderful girls' trip ending so abruptly made me look at Sissy with overwhelming guilt. Years ago, I'd already cancelled our around-the-world trip because of Harrison, and now after all this time, I never imagined he'd still be affecting our lives. "It's okay," she said gently, looking at me. "This isn't your fault at all, sis. It's all because of that clingy, worthless scumbag." She angrily cursed Harrison before turning to her computer and quickly adjusting the schedule. "Perfect timing, we've pretty much had our fill here. How about the Maldives for our next stop?" She opened the booking page, pointed at a luxurious island with her finger, and smiled at me. "I'm booking a private island, just the two of us, and no one will ever find us. Let that scumbag spend all his dirty money searching." "Humph. Great. Thank you, Sissy." I looked at her gratefully. "It's so good to have you." I am endlessly grateful to have such a friend by my side, perhaps the only blessing heaven has granted me in all these years. Without her, I truly doubt I could have escaped Harrison's control. Thank goodness she was there for me. To avoid being recognized again, we disguised ourselves and arrived at the airport fully armed. The airport wasn't crowded, and we passed through the entrance without incident. But when I went to check my luggage, I was told there were dangerous items inside, and I was taken to a small interrogation room. As soon as I entered the room, I saw a familiar figure standing right in the center. I immediately turned to leave, but the door behind me was abruptly shut from the outside with a heavy thud and even locked. "Gianna, I've been looking for you for so long," Harrison said, staring at me intently. His voice was hoarse, his once deep eyes now bloodshot, and his chin covered with stubble. I took a step back, instinctively avoiding his hopeful gaze. "Harrison, it's over between us. Why are you still looking for me? How can this be the end between us?" He suddenly grabbed my shoulders in agitation. "Gianna, have you forgotten? We were so deeply in love before. I can't believe you really want to divorce me." "I've realized my mistake this time, I promise you, it will absolutely never happen again. Could you give me one last chance?" By the end, his voice even cracked with tears. "Let go of me. I have no feelings left for you." I struggled free from his grip and took a step back. "I made myself perfectly clear last time, I don't trust you anymore. Without trust, how can there be any love between us? If I could turn back time, my only wish is to have never met you." Harrison's pupils dilated sharply. After a moment of stillness, he suddenly lunged at me like a madman, pinning me against the wall before crushing his lips against mine. I struggled desperately. He wrenched both my hands above my head, locking my wrists in place as he deepened the kiss brutally. Our lips and teeth clashed until the metallic tang of blood flooded my mouth. He really had gone completely insane. Nothing but disgust and humiliation welled up in me. Tears spilled uncontrollably as waves of nausea churned in my stomach, an indescribable revulsion. The next second, I retched right in front of him. Harrison paused for a moment before letting me go and stepping back. He looked at me, his eyes reddened, filled with complex emotions. "Gianna, do you find me disgusting?" I turned my head away, unwilling to answer. But we both knew, in the adult world, silence itself was an answer. I watched him quietly as he gazed back at me with a sorrow I had never seen before in his eyes. After a long silence, I quietly turned my head away. He didn't say another word, turning to leave utterly distraught. I slowly lifted my head, watching his tall figure walk away, silently mouthing my farewell. "Harrison, from now on, good riddance." After leaving the security check room, I suddenly felt all strength drain from my body. Sissy, who had rushed over in a hurry, saw me standing there motionless and immediately ran over anxiously to embrace me. "How did it go?" "I just saw Harrison coming out of the room. Did he give you any trouble?" "It's all right." I blinked and turned to hug her tightly. "It's all over now. My story with Harrison has finally come to a complete and utter end." After steadying our emotions, we wheeled our luggage across the boarding bridge. Just as we were about to board the plane, my phone suddenly rang again. "Madam, your husband has been in a car accident at the airport entrance. He's severely injured and unconscious now, but right before losing consciousness, he kept calling your name. Please come quickly." After hanging up, though I no longer wanted any connection with this man, out of humanitarian concern, I still rushed to the scene as fast as I could. At this moment, Harrison had already been placed on a stretcher, blood streaming from his wounds, staining his clothes red. As a family member, I rode in the ambulance with him. When the vehicle started moving, he suddenly woke up in a daze, and the first words he uttered were begging for my forgiveness. Gazing into his unfocused eyes, I remained silent, until he slowly closed them again. In a foreign land, suffering such severe injuries meant he needed a relative by his side. After wrestling with my thoughts for a while, I dialed Harrison's father's number. Because I had difficulty getting pregnant, his mother and sister looked down on me from the start, so my relationship with them has always been strained. On our way to catch them in the act, last time, his mother even mocked me several times, calling me a barren hen. Honestly, this Cora really does have some twisted fate with their family. She keeps wrecking their marriages. Thinking about it now, I regret even more being blind enough to marry him back then. Thankfully, compared to his mother and sister, his father is basically the only sane person left in that entire family. The moment the call connected, an aged yet excited male voice came through. "Gianna? Why are you calling me all of a sudden? Have you forgiven Harrison? That boy really crossed the line this time. Don't worry, I'll give him a proper scolding on your behalf. You have every right to be angry with him, but you shouldn't stay mad too long, it's bad for your health." Words brimming with paternal warmth nearly brought tears to my eyes. If Harrison hadn't cheated, if his mother and sister had been more like his father, maybe things would have turned out differently. But alas, there are no what-ifs in this world. I waited quietly for him to finish speaking, then told him about Harrison's car accident and sent him the hospital address. He anxiously inquired about Harrison's condition, and I answered each of his questions one by one. In the end, he asked with a tone of sorrow, "Oh, Gianna, is there really no going back for you and Harrison?" I remained silent for a long moment, until a heavy sigh came from the other end of the phone. 2 weeks later, Harrison was brought back to his home country, but by then he had completely lost awareness of the outside world. He had become a vegetable. At the earnest request of Harrison's father, I went to see him once. At that time, he lay completely motionless, his once deep and brilliant eyes now vacant, staring blankly at the ceiling. I called his name, but all I got in response was a faint exhale. Seeing him like this, a wave of mixed emotions welled up in my heart. Just as I was about to turn and leave, I suddenly saw his eyelids flutter, a single, glistening tear escaped, staining the pristine white pillow. 2 months later, I filed for divorce. Since Harrison had become vegetative, I had no choice but to sue his legal guardian. Fortunately, Harrison's father didn't make things too difficult for me. With tears in his eyes, he reluctantly agreed. Cora had suffered multiple miscarriages before, and after this one, it's likely she'll never be able to conceive again. She made such a scene with Harrison's family that the whole town knew about it. In the end, they compensated her with a hefty sum to barely settle the matter. Harrison's mother and Jasmine were convicted of intentional assault with undeniable evidence, and they probably won't be released for several years. Cora quickly squandered the money she received, and after recovering her health, she returned to her old profession. Now, I still occasionally come across videos of her being caught in adultery on the streets.